Welcome back to the channel Soap Squad. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the absolutely wild drama going down in Port Charles. Grab your coffee, maybe a tissue or two, because what we are about to unpack today is nothing short of heartbreaking and infuriating all at once. Let's get right into it. We have to talk about the absolute disaster that took place on Route 91 because the fallout is reaching a boiling point that is going to shatter lives. If you have been keeping up with General Hospital, you know that the horrific fiery car crash involving Jordan Ashford and Curtis Ashford has been the talk of the town. We saw the terrifying moments unfold. Jordan, severely distracted by passionately kissing Curtis, was forced to swerve violently to avoid an oncoming car. The result, a mangled, burning wreck that left Jordan fighting for her life. Curtis, functioning on pure adrenaline and sheer terror, it had to act as a two-man walker, alongside a fugitive, Valentin Cassadine, just to pull a completely unresponsive Jordan from the flames. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare. And for a minute, the show really wanted us to think that Danny Morgan and Charlotte Cassadine out on their reckless teenage joyride were the sole culprits. Carly certainly thought so, actively covering up their involvement by secretly repairing Charlotte's damaged car. But here's the kicker, and it is a twist that changes the entire moral fabric of this storyline. The real catalyst for this tragedy wasn't just a couple of joyriding teens. It was Brook Lynn Quartermain. Yes, our newly redeemed, desperate to be a mother, Brook Lynn. We all saw the ominous camera pan to her empty wine glass at Charlie's pub. We knew she was tipsy. We knew she hit the guardrail that night. But what we didn't fully realize was the paralyzing depth of her cowardice in that moment. She hit the rail. She realized she caused a massive swerve, and instead of stopping to help, she kept driving. She fled the scene of a near-fatal accident because she was terrified of failing a breathalyzer. She was terrified that a DUI would instantly ruin her and Harrison Chase's chances of fostering baby Phoebe. And to make matters infinitely worse, Tracy Quartermain, in true ruthless Quartermain fashion, immediately instituted an ironclad cover-up, forbidding Brook Lynn from ever breathing a word of this to anyone, especially her straight-laced cop husband Chase. But guilt is a heavy, suffocating blanket, isn't it? You can't just bury a secret like that. Especially not when the victim is fighting for her life in a hospital bed just across town. And that brings us to the absolutely gut-wrenching, jaw-dropping scene that we need to break down today. In a moment of sheer vulnerability and overwhelming panic, Brook Lynn finally snaps. Let's set the scene, because the tension here is palpable. Curtis Ashford, who has been standing vigil by Jordan's bedside like a fiercely protective guardian angel, finally steps away for just a brief moment. Maybe he went to grab a terrible cup of hospital coffee. Or maybe he stepped into the hallway to give Stella or Portia an update. Whatever the reason, his absence leaves the door wide open. And who slips in like a ghost, haunted by her own sins, Brook Lynn. She sneaks into Jordan's hospital room, looking around frantically, her heart probably beating out of her chest. She's in a state of absolute unadulterated panic. But nothing could prepare Brook Lynn for what she sees when she approaches that bed. Jordan is lying there battered, bruised, and forever changed. The physical toll of the crash is horrifyingly evident. Right there, running down Jordan's beautiful face, is a long, angry, permanent scar. A scar that Brook Lynn caused. A physical, undeniable manifestation of Brook Lynn's reckless choice to drink, drive, and flee. Seeing that scar breaks whatever fragile resolve Brook Lynn had left. She completely shatters. She drops to her knees right there on the cold, sterile hospital floor beside Jordan's bed. She collapses under the weight of her own horrifying guilt and begins to sob uncontrollably. It is a raw, ugly, desperate kind of crying. And then the confession pours out. She admits everything. She tells a stunned Jordan that she had been drinking that night. She confesses that she was the one who hit the guardrail, the one who caused the chain reaction that forced Jordan to swerve into disaster. But then Brook Lynn does something that absolutely infuriates me, even though it perfectly aligns with her character's deep-seated flaws. While still on her knees crying her eyes out, she begs. She begs Jordan not to tell the police. She pleads with this woman, a woman who almost burned alive in a mangled car to keep her mouth shut. Why? Because Brook Lynn is terrified of losing her conditional approval to foster baby Phoebe, and she is terrified of destroying Chase's career and their marriage. Are you kidding me, Brook Lynn? Let's be real for a second. I understand the maternal desperation. I really do. The storyline with baby Phoebe has been incredibly emotional, and we have all rooted for Brook Lynn and Chase to build the family they so desperately want. But the sheer audacity to kneel beside the bed of a victim you left for dead and ask them to protect your future. That is staggering selfishness. It reeks of Quartermain privilege. Tracy's toxic influence is practically dripping off of Brook Lynn in this scene. Tracy told her to bury it to protect the family name in the foster application at all costs. And while Brook Lynn couldn't keep the secret, she is still trying to control the narrative to save her own skin. I think this action is fundamentally wrong. Many fans think Brook Lynn is just a victim of bad circumstances. But I think this proves she still has a long way to go to truly shed that selfish Quartermaine archetype. You cannot build a family on a foundation of lies and innocent blood. Now let's pivot to Jordan, because her reaction is where the true psychological meat of this storyline lies. Imagine waking up in a hospital bed, your body broken, your face permanently scarred, knowing you were moments away from a fiery death. You were already carrying the immense, crushing guilt of knowing that your distracted driving that passionate kiss with Curtis was the immediate cause of the swerve. Jordan has been beating herself up, thinking she brought this entirely on herself and Curtis. And then the truth walks through the door, drops to its knees, and begs for mercy. Jordan is absolutely shocked. The revelation hits her like a freight train. It wasn't just her fault. Someone else caused the hazard. Someone else hit the rail. And that someone else drove away while she bled. As a former police commissioner and the current deputy mayor, Jordan's entire life, her entire moral compass, is built around justice. She has dedicated her career to holding criminals accountable. She has locked up people for far less than a hit and run. The instinct to call the cops, to press the call button, and have Brook Lynn arrested on the spot has to be screaming in her head. Duty demands it. Justice demands it. The scar on her face demands it. But Jordan is also a deeply compassionate woman. She is a mother. She knows what it means to fight for your family. She looks down at the sobbing, pathetic, terrified young woman begging for her future. Jordan knows Harrison Chase. She respects Chase as a stellar police officer and a good man. She knows that if she blows the whistle, she isn't just sending Brook Lynn to prison. She is destroying Chase's life. She is ripping a foster child away from a loving home. The internal conflict here is masterfully written. Jordan is violently torn between her righteous, justified anger toward the person who left her to die, and her deep empathy for a woman terrified of losing her child. This dilemma is classic General Hospital. Let's look back at the history of this show. How many times have we seen characters bend the law for the sake of family? Carly Corinthos has made a career out of covering up crimes to protect her kids. We are seeing her do it right now with Danny and Charlotte's involvement in this very same crash. But Jordan is not Carly. Jordan is a woman of the law. However, we also have to remember that Jordan has bent her own rules before. Look at how she handled the truth about TJ's paternity for years. Look at the immense risks she is currently taking working undercover for Jen Sidwell. Jordan operates in shades of gray more often than she likes to admit. But forgiving a hit and run that left you permanently disfigured, that is a monumental ask. And we cannot ignore the physical toll, the scar. This isn't just a broken arm that will heal and be forgotten. Every single time Jordan looks in the mirror for the rest of her life, she will see Brook Lynn Quartermaine's reckless choice. She will remember the heat of the flames. She will remember the terror. How do you forgive that? How do you look at the woman who caused that and say, I won't tell? I honestly don't know if Jordan has it in her to let this go. And frankly, I don't think she should. I love Brook Lynn, but actions have to have consequences. If she gets away with this, what does that say about justice in Port Charles? Let's theorize about where this is going, because the ripple effects of this confession are going to be catastrophic. First of all, what happens if Curtis walks back into that room and catches the tail end of this confession? Curtis Ashford is a fiercely protective man. He loves Jordan with everything he has. He literally carried her out of a burning inferno. If Curtis finds out that Brook Lynn caused the crash and left them there, his rage will be atomic. He won't care about baby Phoebe. He won't care about Chase's feelings. He will want Quartermaine blood. Curtis has a history of taking matters into his own hands when the people he loves are threatened. I predict that even if Jordan decides to keep the secret out of pity, Curtis is going to figure it out. He is an investigator at heart. He will notice Jordan's shifted demeanor around Brook Lynn. He will start digging, and when he hits pay dirt, the explosion will be legendary. And then there is Harrison Chase. Oh, poor oblivious Honorable Chase. He is currently walking around on cloud 9, conditionally approved to foster Phoebe, thinking his wife is the most wonderful woman in the world. Chase's morality is incredibly black and white. Remember how he reacted when he found out about the lies surrounding Bailey Louise? He was devastated by the deception. Now, imagine him finding out that his wife drove drunk, caused the near-fatal crash involving his former boss and a man he respects, fled the scene, and then actively covered it up with the help of Tracy Quartermaine. It will destroy him. It will completely shatter his view of Brook Lynn. I firmly believe that this secret is the ticking time bomb that could end their marriage. Brook Lynn thinks she is protecting her family by hiding this, but the lie itself is the poison that will kill it. Furthermore, we have to consider Tracy Quartermain's role in this impending disaster. Tracy's gonna find out that Brook Lynn cracked. Tracy has eyes and ears everywhere, and she knows Brook Lynn is a bundle of raw nerves. When Tracy realizes that Brook Lynn confessed to Jordan, Tracy's gonna go into full-blown crisis management mode. I wouldn't be surprised if Tracy visits Jordan next, not to beg, but to threaten. Tracy will use all of her wealth, power, and leverage to ensure Jordan keeps her mouth shut. She might threaten Jordan's career, or even threaten to expose some of Jordan's own shady undercover dealings with Sidwell. A showdown between a scarred, traumatized Jordan and a ruthless Tracy Quartermain would be absolute television gold. This entire storyline is a masterclass in moral ambiguity. Who is the real villain here? Is it Brook Lynn for making a terrible mistake and letting fear dictate her actions? Is it Tracy for immediately resorting to a corrupt cover-up? Or is there no villain, just flawed human beings making desperate choices in the dark? Jordan holds all the cards right now. She has the power to destroy the Quartermain Chase family with a single phone call. The tension of waiting to see what she does with that power is going to keep us glued to our screens for weeks. Personally, I hope Jordan makes Brook Lynn sweat. I want to see Brook Lynn actually face the music, not just cry her way out of it. It's time for the younger generation of Port Charles to stop relying on legacy wealth and family names to escape the law. But knowing soap operas, this secret is going to simmer. It will be held over Brook Lynn's head, creating agonizing tension at every family gathering, every hospital visit, and every moment she spends with baby Phoebe. What an incredibly complex emotional mess. The writers have truly outdone themselves by weaving the joy of the Foster storyline directly into the horror of the Route 91 crash. It forces us to ask ourselves what we would do in Jordan's shoes. Could you forgive the person who scarred you for life if it meant saving a child's future? Could you look the other way for the sake of a colleague you respect? I want to hear from all of you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Jordan should call the cops and have Brook Lynn arrested? Or do you think she should show mercy for the sake of baby Phoebe and Chase? And how long do you think it will take for Curtis to uncover the truth and blow the whole thing wide open? Let's get a debate going. Stay tuned because Port Charles is about to get incredibly messy. And we will be here to break down every single explosive moment. See you in the next video.